Well, hello, welcome to this week's video. And as you can see, it's pouring with rain. So glad we got the roof on just in the nick of time. And now we can get on with some indoor work when it's pouring with rain, and some outdoor work when it's nice and sunny. So here we have the cladding pile. It's nice wide plank waney edge boards, which we were lucky to come across. Most of the waney edge boards you see for sale are up to about a foot in width, whereas these boards are almost 2 feet. Part of the stack that we've got, I've got a straight edge cut on the one side, which we're going to try and utilise in this video today for cladding the end wall, which takes all the weather. I'm not very au fait with putting waney edge cladding on. This is in fact my first attempt. I've done lots and lots of cladding over the years, but this is my first go of waney edge cladding. But it's a thing that Jo likes the look of, and she's always wanted a waney edge cabin, so this is what we're having. So what you can see us doing here is forming a straight line down this section, and I'm going to use this as the windowsills. So I'm going to cut it along its length in a straight line, and then I'm going to cut it down and cut it into pieces to form the windowsills, because you can see later in the video that the windows I've got, they're PVC and they're all mismeasures, so they don't come with external sills. So we're going to make the sills from waney edge boards, and it's going to look great. So we're going to make the sills with the waney edge boards, and it's going to be very in keeping with the overall look of the cabin. So this Douglas Fir board is quite resiny, so cutting it along its grain with a circular saw, all it wants to do is wander off the line, because there seems to be hard pockets and soft pockets within it. So it'll cut really fast, then it'll cut really slow, and then it's cutting fast again. Ideally we'd use a table saw for it, but given the size of the width of the planks and the length of them, we'd need a large table saw, which I haven't got. So we're having to make do with a good old trusty circular saw. So just double check the window sizes. Made the openings 40 mils wider than the windows I've got, because the outside cheek of the window opening I want to put some cladding on, and I don't want to impede the window opening. So here you'll see us cutting down the windows, because the mismeasured windows came with a top opener, or sorry, a top panel that we're not going to use, so we just trim that off, and then it just leaves us nice large openers with a handle on the bottom, which is great for what we need. But as you see when I offer it up now, that there's a 20 mil gap all the way around it, and that was planned. The opening is designed so as I can clad around the outside of it, and if we picked them up from a window shop, I'd have asked for a length of 20 mil add-on to click onto the sides, which would have assisted me in the fitting of them, but we didn't. We got them from Marketplace for a fraction of what they would have cost us if we'd ordered them from a PVC supplier. So the process I'm using here is to just wedge it into its position, and then get a little bit of expanding foam in there to cure up, because the new gun grade foam that we use these days tends to go off, as long as you don't put large quantities around, it tends to go off in about 10 minutes. So we can get the window into its location, squirt a little bit of expanding foam around the corners, let that go off for 20 minutes, and then we can fix away without fear of the window moving around on us while we're trying to fix it. So those couple of screws that are going in are just there to pin it into position. Just fix it up the top corners. Get it into place, and then squirt a bit of foam around it, let it cure up, and then once it's all held in place by the foam, I can open it up, open the windows up, and put the standard window fixings in, and the window stays put, doesn't wander around while you're trying to tighten them up. That's the way I've done it for a long time. I am a fan of the expanding foam gun. It's very controllable. The old handheld expanding foam is gone, never to be used again. The beauty of the gun foam is you can turn the knob on the back of it and seal the can with it in the gun, and it can stay in the gun for months and months, and all you need to do is turn the knob again and carry on using it months later, whereas the old handheld one with the plastic straw, once you started using it, it's game over. So here you see the bottom plank going on. Now, I ummed and ahed about which is the best way to do it, and the conclusion I came to was to have a straight line across the bottom, so waney edge facing up on the bottom strip. We've put a batten around the bottom to kick the bottom of the bottom board out as if it's sat on top of a previous board, to give them all the same angle. But my thoughts are, if I've put a straight line on the bottom plank, then when I come to pave around it, I can literally pave to about a 10mm half-inch gap, and it'll be a parallel gap around the bottom instead of a wibbly wobbly edge to try and pave to. So these boards are cut from a tree, so the edges of them, when we get in them, they're not square, because the chainsaw marks are still on the ends of them from when the tree was felled. So we've got to cut them square and then measure them and cut them to length. So this is the first wibbly wobbly edge that's going to show. But because they've got a straight edge, I can put a spirit level on top of them, and to give me the guide that we're not running off. We're going to get sort of parallel horizontal lines of waney, rather than sloping lines that disappear off up to the left and off up to the right, like you see on some uses of it. That I'm not a fan of. Even though it's a waney edge, I like to see it horizontal. So offering the board up at the moment, check the squareness of the end that I've cut. Obviously, because it's a veiny, wibbly wobbly edge, we can't use a standard square on it, and the straight line that's cut on the back of this section of boards we're using, that line isn't perfectly straight, so need to just double check that it's square and hasn't got a gap between the two pieces before we fix it on. So with using a veiny edge cladding for the first time, I'm spending quite a bit of time assessing it, reassessing it, standing back, looking at it, and getting it right in my head that it's okay, because I'm not the most artistic person. I'm very precise in my work, but not a very artistic person, so using veiny edge boards is a craft in itself. So the eagle-eyed people amongst you might notice there's not a great deal of overlap on these boards. Each board is a different width, obviously because it's cut from the round of a tree, so every board is slightly varying in width. But my main concern is when I get to the top of the window opening, that I get a straight run through with a nice veiny edged header. So the piece of timber that's at the top of the window opening is not jigsawed out to a straight edge, it's the live edge of a piece of timber. So I'm trying to stretch the bond as much as I can so that I can reach the top of the window and not be halfway up a plank, and the planks be a similar spacing. So I'm using a framing square here. As I said just previously, that the straight edge that's cut in a sawmill to the back of these boards isn't a straight line. So by using the framing square, I can get a happy medium or an average of the straightness before marking the square line. Obviously we don't want tapered edge cuts. We want each where the timber joins meet each other to be nice and butt square, with the idea of making them all look like there isn't a join. Some of you may think that I'm being a bit slow and fussy and using the spirit level where others wouldn't, but again I'm trying to stretch the bond so that we get the nice piece of veiny edge across the top of the window openings. But if you watch to the end of the video, you'll see the completed pine end of this building, and I think it looks pretty fab. So we went through every piece of timber that was here in the cladding pile to find the two widest boards, and the last two rows have been the widest two boards that we have, and we just made it up to the top of the window opening. Just so, like I keep saying, that the piece that comes across the top of the windows is a live edge and looks just so like it's always supposed to be there. I would have found it twice as quick to use a factory standard cladding, and I would have cut it all to length on the chop saw and nailed it on in a blink of an eye usually. So again, we're back to the veiny edge, and everything takes time to get it to look just right. So if any of you have used Waney edge cladding or have experience with Waney edge cladding, I would appreciate comments and any guidance you may give me, given that it's my first attempt, and any way I can speed the process up. I would very much appreciate your input on it. So we're carefully selecting a piece that suits the purpose of what we're trying to achieve here. So there's the moment of truth, to see if we've managed to stretch the spacings of the board enough. So there we go. The live Waney edge above the window opening has worked out, thankfully. As you can see from the corner, we've had to stretch the overlap a bit more than I would really, but the window still opens, and when you stand back and look at it, there's a short time-lapse video coming up where there's a different view of today's work, and you'll be able to see how much of the window frame is showing from the side elevation, and to show we've got the header spacings just right, I think. And the lack of overlap will be a thing in the past, will be a distant memory. As soon as the corner pieces go on, then you won't be able to see how much overlap there is or isn't on each plank. And also with the wide soffit board we've created on the roof, then this wall is only going to get wet in windy weather. And the last piece. So I realise as I'm fitting it that my angle isn't quite right. So take it down, take another cut off it, readjust it, put it back up, and try again. So at a later date and off camera, I actually take this piece down and recut it, but I didn't record that. And this piece of wood that I'm screwing up now, I just put one screw in it, knowing that I will be taking it back down and using it as a template to cut another piece more accurately. That's just the fussy side of me. In fact, this piece of wood gets used on the opposite end, so as not to waste any of the timber.
So it was a very productive day, a lovely early start in the sunshine after all that rain, and it took us pretty much the whole day to do this one end, because we were just wanting to make sure that you can't really notice the joins, and also get some of those features like the lovely Waney edge continuing underneath the windowsills and over the window headers as well, so it just looks, well, as natural as a built environment thing can look. Just wanted to make as much of the Douglas Fir Waney edge as possible, and of course the width of those boards as well, because these are unusually large boards for this type of structure. Normally, well, what you can get bought or produced ordinarily in a timber mill would be an awful lot smaller than this, but we wanted something that was really going to just help this building disappear into the background and be as natural as possible. And with the sun going down, end of the day.
Start the day with rain, and we finish the day with rain. Well, thanks for watching, and please leave some comments if you've used Waney edge boards. That would be fantastic to hear of your experiences with it. That was my first experience with it, and I've got the front, the other side, and all the back yet to do, so your comments would be much appreciated. Thank you, and see you next week.